In 2018, the Department of Education, Aboriginal Education Services and Vocational Learning and Career Education employed an Aboriginal Program Officer, which was a first and a really great thing for the department to do. And what the role was to support Aboriginal learners in the vocational space. And when I came into the role, I could see that there was nothing that reflected me or other Aboriginal people. We undertook some research with the Peter Underwood Centre, and I did a lot of research of my own around community and speaking to community people and learners and families to get an idea of what sort of things would attract Aboriginal learners into Australian school-based apprenticeships in particular, and what might keep them in there. And one of the things that was really glaringly obvious was that being able to see yourselves and see your community in anything that's being put out about school-based apprenticeships would be really important. Australian school-based apprenticeships are a really fantastic way for young people to understand where they want to go and be able to tie their employment to their education. Creating a career doesn't necessarily start after you leave school, and with an Australian school-based apprenticeship you can really make that career happen while you're still at school and explore what it takes to get to where you want to go. The good thing about it as well is that you are able to earn money in that space, and you also gain so many skills around employment before you have even set foot out of school. We were able to get Caleb on board, which is absolutely key, because working with known community members highlights that connection to community and the understanding that we see you. And we were able to get Caleb's beautiful artwork and produce the postcards and the banners to speak to our community learners and their families.
For me, it was really important that we had a visual presence. Not having a visual presence kind of just makes the initiative or the program basically lose its value. I know previously from my own experience working at the University of Tasmania with Ria Wana, we were constantly trying to promote the Aboriginal school-based apprenticeships, and quite often we were met with, but is it for our community? Is it for our mob? So I think coming on board with this project was really important, and I could see the value because I'd already had previous experience trying to engage mob in these opportunities.
We have a focus on Australian school-based apprenticeships because we know that Australian school-based apprenticeships are a great way for Aboriginal learners to move through from education to employment really smoothly. They still get that connection to education, but they are learning how to be valuable employees in the world of work. However, the materials that we had around that didn't really reach out to Aboriginal people and say, this is something that we think you might be good at. And so the collaboration with Caleb and the research with the community is what allowed us to create a product that we think might speak to those Aboriginal learners and their families about why this will work for them.
When Aboriginal Education Services approached me and asked me to design the artwork for the Aboriginal school-based apprenticeships, I really understood the value of that artwork and the importance of that artwork being a part of the initiative. So to be trusted with the design process and to be given that opportunity really meant a lot to me. I think as a First Nations artist and particularly a Tasmanian Aboriginal artist, my inspiration always comes from my connection to country. And I think that's very evident in the artwork that I create as well. These three particular pieces that I created for Aboriginal Education Services were inspired by country on the northwest coast. That's where I seem to spend the majority of my time, and I'm always out on country, recharging and reconnecting as a form of self-care.
The work that has happened in this space and the collaboration that the Department of Education has done with the Tasmanian Aboriginal community is a really brave step forward, and a new one that in the 9 to 12 space isn't really one we've explored before. The 9 to 12 learning staff have really been brave in reaching out into spaces where they haven't worked before. The change that it can create is very tangible. In that, we will be speaking directly to Tasmanian Aboriginal learners and their families with a message that we know is for them.
If you would like to learn more about our ways of working, contact aboriginal.voceducation@education.tas.gov.au.